So our class is pretty good now, but you can still build more functions within your class so you can improve and have less code in your main. For example, what if I want to know, I'm going to delete player 2 because it is irrelevant at this moment. So with the player P, I want to know if player P is alive. So I'm going to say if P dot get health is bigger than 0, then I know that player P is alive. Else you get a problem. Player P is dead. Not alive. So if I run this program, it's alive because it's 100. But right here I can say P dot set health. I'm gonna set the health to 0 now because he lost a lot of health, got shot, and then after he got shot the player is not alive. Now this is a lot of code, so I want to take this code to the class. So on the class I'm going to create a function called public. The data type, the returning data type is going to be Boolean, and it's going to be called is alive. And here I can write the code to check if the player is alive or not. So if this dot player health is bigger than 0, then we're going to return true. Else we're going to return false. And 3 consecutives / will create this code documentation. So check if the player is alive. So let's review this function. This function returns a boolean, and this function name is alive. Receives no parameters, but it returns either true or false, which happens to be a boolean. So if the player health is bigger than 0, then it returns true because the player is alive. So anything else, it will return false. The player is dead. So the calculation now, the comparison is done on the class. So in my main program, instead of me doing this, I can just check if the player is alive. So if P dot is alive, then I can print is alive. Else dead. Now you can, if you want to, print this from the class. So let's do that real quick. So right here I only have one function called player status, and I can just add here on the player status that plus this dot. Now notice that so far whenever we call this, we've been calling the variable but this can also be used to call the function within this class. So if I call the function now within this class, then this class is alive, is the function that we just created. The point here is that you can call a function that is inside the class. So one function can call the other function. So now let's run this code here. After we do that, we're gonna print player status. And remember, we already print one time here. So I'm just going to print a new line here. So this is a new line. So we create the player, we set it a name, we give it a health, and then we print its status, new line, and then got shot, we set the health to 0, and then we print the status again. So let's see how this code behaves. So name Grievous, health 100, is alive, true, it is alive. And then the name is Grievous, health is 0 because right here on line 15 we set the health to 0. So now is alive equals false. So your class can be as fancy as you want it to be, and it should have as much functionality as possible. So within your main class you have to do little or no work here. So if we had 2 or 3 players, the work, the coding, the amount of coding you would do it would be 2 or 3 times this amount here. However, without the class, you would have to do all this coding here every time you have a player.